I'm Walter Cronkite. This is the story of the greatest mechanized army of World War II. The army called Lucky, and of its legendary leader, the general called Old Blood and Guts. The army, the American Third. The leader, General George S. Patton.
Coming over here, there was a very great lesson. The first 4 hours, we passed over a destroyed land, utterly destroyed. You who have not seen it do not know what hell looks like from the top. And it suddenly occurred to me that those of you who have not been at war do not realize what those of us who have been at war have done for you with our blood and your money.
This is our story, Patton and the Third Army, the 20th Century. On November 8, 1942, George S. Patton leads 32,000 untried troops into North Africa, launching his first campaign of World War II. At 57, he has been a hell-for-leather cavalryman, organizer of the first American tank forces in World War I, student of history, deeply religious, an amateur poet, but is little known to the American public. He will soon find fame as the great gambler among modern generals, the one who loves to court the extraordinary risk. All my life, I have wanted to lead a lot of men in a desperate battle, he has written. I will leave the beaches either a conqueror or a corpse. By spring 1943, most of North Africa is overrun. No great planner, Patton has little patience with soldiers who go at war methodically. Find the enemy, hit him fast to get him off balance, then smite him down. That's his way. Grip your weapon, don't be gripped by supply. It isn't book generalship, it's almost medieval, but it's the Patton way, and it works. July 1943, Sicily. Patton's first chance to command an army, the 7th. A flamboyant leader, his view is that a commander must communicate confidence and personal bravery. He must make the soldier feel he will be successful and make him want to kill. It takes just 38 days for Patton's 7th and the British 8th Army to win Sicily. Patton is satisfied with his own leadership. His handling of armor is already becoming legend. Of the Sicilian campaign, he writes, "If I had to fight the whole campaign over, I would make no change in anything I did." And he adds, "Few generals have ever been able to say as much." Between the two natural rivals, Patton and Britain's Montgomery, there is no love lost. Said Montgomery, there were always feelings between British and American troops. Patton's remarks from time to time did not help. Patton seems fated for controversy. An incident which mars his triumph in Sicily is described now by the chief historian, European Theater of Operations, General S.L.A. Marshal.
Caught between the 20th century view of war as something dirty and his own 18th century view that war was man's most glorious adventure, Patton had a physical revulsion against men he believed to be cowardly. He believed mistakenly, but positively, that all men are born in the same mold and that when they break down, it is voluntary. He wrote, "The greatest weapon against the so-called battle fatigue is ridicule. Any man who says he has battle fatigue is avoiding danger." He demanded much of his men and usually got it. In Sicily, unsparing of himself, he also pushed his forces in a manner described by the higher command as almost ruthless. While touring field hospitals toward the end of the campaign, he twice came upon GIs who had been evacuated from the front for nervous disorders. He upbraided them for cowardice and struck one of them about the head, sending his helmet liner flying. General Eisenhower called his conduct reprehensible, but kept him in his post. The judgment was that Patton's service to the nation far outweighed his disservice to himself. However, Patton was made to apologize to the men he affronted, the hospitals he disturbed, and to the body of his army, division by division. What had moved Patton? Some who didn't know him very well blamed frayed nerves. He himself wrote, "One sometimes slaps a baby to bring it to." 5 months after the episode, the story was broken to a shocked America. Shortly after, Patton seemed to vanish from the world scene, and it began to look as if he had been shelved. But actually, Eisenhower had picked him for a key role in the invasion of Western Europe, and he was then in England preparing for it. His mission was to shape the new Third Army, his greatest instrument, the Army with the Sunday punch. In August 1944, this hammer hit the continent, joining the Normandy breakthrough. This was the right situation, his dish of tea.
Patton has been given an army whose function is to rule right across Europe, mechanized like no other in the world. It is the Blitz Army, the army he names Lucky. The man who has said, "Battle is the most magnificent competition in which a human being can indulge, values personal glory, and never feels doubt." The First Army has provided a gap at Avranches. Patton's Third Army is ready for breakthrough. The Lucky Third explodes upon the Brittany Peninsula in 3 directions. In 2 furious weeks, it drives the fleeing Germans west into the ports of Brest and Lorient, clears the Loire River, south to Angers, and pushes east through Le Mans. To Patton, fast movement saves lives. "Keep on advancing," he says, "whether we go over, under, or through the enemy. The more Germans we kill, the fewer of our men will be killed." Under him, the Third goes faster, farther than any American army in history. The Germans, outwitted, outmaneuvered, surrender in the tens of thousands. In 7 weeks, 40,000 square miles are liberated. As Patton's army pushes ahead across central France, his orders to the supply people are, "You keep up with me. I'm moving." Patton refuses to be fettered by logistics. He calls the Third spectacular drive eastward a tour of France with an army. But the tour can last only so long as men and guns are fed and motors kept going, by supplies moving airborne or via fast express over the highway net. It is becoming more and more difficult to keep up with Patton's terrific pace. Supply begins to run short due to the distance it must travel, but Patton doesn't try to ration it. Instead, he tells his forward units to keep going until they run out of gas, then get out and walk if necessary. Finally, toward the end of September, supply problems forced the Third Army to a halt along the Moselle. Then news is received that their supplies are being diverted to Montgomery's 21st Army Group, trying for victory on the left flank. Bad news for Patton, who loathes being limited to fighting a defensive war. For his men, overstretched and tired, it is a welcome respite. No respite from strict inspection, however, especially when visited by the high command. Harshly GI, Patton requires his troops to wear helmets and ties behind combat lines. He himself loves flashy clothes, and usually the only thing GI about his uniform is his service coat. Patton is anxious to get going again. He will later write, "In practically every case, I was under wraps from the high command. The wraps will soon come off." As supplies begin to arrive, a stalemate of almost 2 months ends. Time spent catching up with Patton has also given the Germans time to man the fortress of Metz. Patton's first task is to reduce this fortress, cross the lower Moselle, and advance upon the heavily defended Saar Basin. The great tank general will now be able to prove his ability as an infantry commander. On November 8th, the new offensive begins. Metz, site of the mightiest fortress in Europe, dating back to Caesar's time, made practically impregnable by the Germans. A vicious, costly battle, staged from building to building, wall to wall. For the benefit of the Germans, who now compare him to John Dillinger and Al Capone, Patton says he will take the fortress if it costs every man. The Metz assault underway, he now readies his massive attack on the Tsar, one of the greatest sustained campaigns in modern history. It will be made during the worst European weather on record. It will be a slow, costly, grueling test of skill, courage, and endurance. Patton himself describes it.
When I think of that vicious fight in which 40,000 Americans died or were wounded, beginning on the 8th of November and terminating on the 19th of December, mud rivers. We built 2,000 bridges. Your friends, your relatives, waded 20 rivers, 20 big rivers. Many of them didn't get across. Many of those who didn't get across have not been found. The rivers flow fast in that country.
The Saar campaign is broken off by the surprise Battle of the Bulge. Patton's army must turn 90 degrees and attack 100 miles north to stem the German tide and relieve besieged Bastogne. It means desperate battle in the coldest winter in 20 years.
From the 22nd of December until the end of February, fields of snow covered with dead. Dead men in awful positions. When a man is killed at 17 below, he freezes like that. And he freezes in nasty colors. I am being as horrible as I can. I am living up to my name, perhaps. But I don't enjoy it.
On December 26th, Patton's army enters Bastogne, having accomplished the task called impossible. Hitler's last gamble is lost. Against tremendous odds, the Bulge is won. These are some of the men who won it.
What is your name?
Private Pat Brady, North Hollywood, California.
I understand you have the Purple Heart. Can you tell us something? What happened?
Well, sir, I was attached to a platoon of tanks, and we were to take a town. I happened to be in the lead tank, so here we go. Went on through that town, and our gunner had a slight case of trigger happiness, and, well, he just shot everything up, boy. It was just going ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, boom, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, boom from one side of the house to the other. Boy, houses were flying everywhere. I thought, boy, this is a breeze. Boy, look at that stuff fly. We come up to this tank trap, or it wasn't a tank trap exactly, it was a roadblock. Went on through that, and boom, something hit that tank, and she caught on fire. Well, I always did have a little trouble getting out of that hole that I'm in down there. But, boy, I'm telling you, I got out of that hole so fast I don't even remember hitting the ground. And when I woke up, I was in a ditch, and lead was flying all everywhere, and ammunition inside the tank was going off. Well, it was quite an exciting time, I'd say.
What is your name?
Sergeant Peter DeGiuseppe of Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, the World's Mushroom Center.
And what are you doing?
I am a tank commander.
Well, now, how did you spot these 88s in direct fire?
We were about 150 yards away, and it was a poor day, and it was hard to see anything. And I just happened to spot a hole just looked as big as a smokestack. I figured that they were 88, so we put a few rounds in there and blew them out.
What do you think of the war so far?
Well, sir, when you're in this war, there looks to be no end to it. Just don't look like there's any end at all.
The Third Army rolls on, breaches the Siegfried Line, which Patton calls the famous monument to the stupidity of man. It is the end of February 1945. Now the warrior who accepts no pay and assigns his paycheck directly to the Army Relief Society plans perhaps his greatest campaign, the Palatinate. Just 6 weeks after smashing the German offensive in the Battle of the Bulge, with one mighty blow, his Third Army will break the back of German resistance in the West. In just 10 days, the Third Army overruns 10,000 miles of enemy ground, destroys 2 German armies, and envelops the entire Palatinate. By March 22nd, the Tsar has been taken, the war west of the Rhine won. Soon on both sides of the Rhine, the enemy is a beaten mass of confused humanity. As German reserves are overrun, the stream of prisoners to the rear swells to a river. The liberation of concentration camps reveals the Nazi abomination to the world. Patton will order German officials here to see what horror the swastika has wrought. His soldiers are detoured here so that they too will not forget. By May 1945, in 9 months of fighting, the Third Army has gone farther, captured more prisoners, crossed more rivers, liberated more friendly territory than any other army ever before in American history. On May 5th, the rolling third enters Pilsen, Czechoslovakia. Final mission accomplished. In 4 days, the war in Europe will be over, and Patton will write to his army, "The one honor that is mine, and mine alone, is that of having commanded such an incomparable group of Americans." As the Third Army stacks arms, Patton knows he has been to his last war. He broods about it, feeling that if he had been turned loose, he would have had more glory. To his wife, he has written, "I love war and responsibility and excitement. Peace is going to be hell on me." For the soldier called by the German High Command, the most modern and most dangerous general on all fronts, the time for ceremony has come. Generals like Nikanor Zagvachev have to be decorated. Later he will write, "I unquestionably drank the Russian commander under the table and walked off under my own steam." Patton believes all good soldiers desire glory and enjoys decorating his own men.
At this point, I want to correct a grave illusion. You don't have to be dead to be a hero. People always talk about heroic dead. Well, damn it, there are a lot of heroic alive ones. I'm trying to bring back to you the fact what these soldiers have given. Damn it, it's no fun to say to men that you love, go out and get killed. And we've had to say it. And by God, they have gone. And they have won. But I want you to remember that the sacrifice that these men have made must not be in vain.
On October 6, 1945, Patton is forced to say farewell to his Third Army. His slowness in removing local Nazi administrators, climaxed with a careless remark comparing Nazis to losers in an election between Republicans and Democrats, has resulted in his removal from his beloved command. For the fiery grandson of a Confederate officer killed at Cedar Creek, for the fighter who has modeled himself after Stonewall Jackson, the time hangs heavy as he assumes command of the 15th Army, largely a paper organization. He had expected a glorious death in battle. The best end for an old campaigner, he says, is a bullet at the last minute of the last battle. In practice for the 1912 Olympics, he had broken the world's record for pistol shooting. Visiting Sweden late in November, he shoots once more against his old competitors in the game.
Patton returned from Sweden seeking as ever an outlet for his tremendous energy. Sunday morning, December 9, found Germany wrapped in impenetrable fog. But Patton had planned a day of pheasant shooting, and he had to have it. He was accompanied by his beloved old friend and chief of staff, General Hobart Gay. At a fog-bound intersection near Neckarstadt, Patton's speeding staff car smashed into an Army truck. His head hit the back of the front seat, and he fell across the lap of his friend, Happy Gay. "Are you hurt?" asked Patton, and then he added, "I think I'm paralyzed. Work my fingers for me." He was rushed to a hospital. X-rays revealed a broken neck. For days he appeared to stage a miraculous recovery, and then complications set in. And 4 days before Christmas, the end came. His last words, whispered to his wife, Beatrice, were, "It's too dark. I mean too late."
On a pine-clad bluff near Ham, Luxembourg, General Patton was laid to rest among his own soldiers. His grave is on the high ground, and he abides with his troops.